Hope you guys are enjoying our podcast, True Talk. We got tons and tons of good content for you to put into your life.
We got mentorship, insights from some of our leaders that we associate with, and we can't wait to bring you behind the scenes.
Hey, hope you guys enjoy it.
I would say we would talk about two impressive leaders that stand out to you.
Who, me?
Yeah. Name one.
Well, obviously Tom Brady, and
Okay.
Tom Brady's like on the bigger issue because I'm a Bucs fan, obviously. Miami sucks.
Easy.
But they don't?
No.
What's going to be your record this year?
I would say probably 14-3. Yeah, I like
Who's
that.
your quarterback?
Tua Tagovailoa.
He'll be hurt in the third game. I don't know if
Actually-
he's going to make. You think he's going to make it in the league?
I do. I think he's got
You
all the
do?
characteristics. He's a good leader. Quarterback is not just about throwing the ball. It's about being a leader of men. Tom Brady's a leader of men, which is why the Bucs were like, I think they lost every game for the last 40
Hold on, easy.
years.
Easy. Now we
Until-
won a Super Bowl.
They brought the GOAT
Won a Super
in.
Bowl.
The GOAT changed the entire franchise. Hopefully that Tom can stay there for a little longer to continue to change the losing format that Tampa had for 114 years.
Yeah, but what'd you say? 114 years?
I was
You
trying to
gotta
add
be
up how many years
Y'all
it
couldn't
was
win a
that
Super Bowl with
Tampa lost.
Dan Marino. Miami couldn't win a
Miami
Super Bowl
won
with
more
Dan
games in
Marino.
one season than
I
Tampa
mean,
won in like
and then
60
choked.
years.
Choked.
No,
Choked
but I
us.
would say that Tom Brady's a great leader. Another interesting leader that's back in the NFL is Tim Tebow. I think he's a leader amongst men, actually.
So
Doesn't
what are
have
some
a-
of the things that Tim Tebow and Tom Brady have in common? That why would you say that you consider them great leaders? Because you just throw them out there.
I would say one thing that they don't have is Tom's. He's a winner. Tom's a
Wow.
winner. That
I
cat's a
can't believe
winner.
you just said that.
Tebow's
Tebow's a winner.
He's a
What are you
winner
talking
off the
about?
court. He's a winner off the court. I would say a lot of his success came from outside of college football. It came from college football and outside of the NFL. He's a sportscaster. He's worldwide loved.
So as a father of kids that play sports, right? I want my sons to win, obviously, but you know right off the bat that it's competitive sports and is ridiculous, and then even to make it in the college, where they say 1% of high school athletes make it in the college, and even less than that I think make it into the NFL. It's something crazy, right?
yeah,
I don't know the
percentage
stats exactly, but so when I look at Tom, of course I want my kids to win Super Bowls, whatever, be the greatest player in the world. Do I think they're going to be that? Edit this out, by the way. Sorry guys, I don't know if you know, but I like watching Tebow and how he was the greatest college player of all time, still arguably, and he has failed in many things after that, or what we would consider failure. He actually made it to the NFL, and he played professional baseball, even in a minor league, which is ridiculous. But you watched him like fight, maybe not make it to the greatest MLB player, not even make it to and still be so gracious, so humble, still do his talks, and still just made it back to the NFL, which to
it's
me,
already impressive.
I
that
want
he-
my sons to be like
It's already
that. You know what I'm
impressive that
saying?
he remade the roster. We talk about Tom being older and doing this for so many years consistently, and then to see Tim being out of the game for so long and to even be considered as an NFL player at this stage in his life just shows how characteristic and relationship building even can exceed skill. So Tim Tebow, I think on and off the court, he's going to be a huge help for Jacksonville.
Well, and I like what you just said. To me, leadership, and whether you're doing business or doing sports or whatever, you can say both about both of them. Their work ethic on the field and off the field is ridiculous. Their character on the field and off the field is ridiculous. Like, you don't see them waver very much, either one of them. So winners in my book. Now, you're a good leader as well. Hold on. Have you always been a good leader, though?
I'm going to say leadership is something that you're given. It's a gift, right? Whether you be a leader or not. And sometimes it's not something that people want. They don't want the gift of leadership. They would rather do their own thing and be private, let everybody leave them alone. But once you feel that call in your life, you realize that people are following you. They're going to follow you whether you're good or bad. At that point, you make the decision that even if it isn't for me to be a good leader, it's for the people that follow me to set the bar higher, set the example even greater for the ones following.
And see, I agree with you. I do think leadership, some of it is a natural born ability. Some people are just born natural leaders. But I do think it is a skill that can be learned.
Mhm.
It's something, even put it not necessarily a skill, maybe a habit that you practice that becomes a skill. It can be taught. I do think there's many people that were born with zero leadership skills, maybe even worse, like the opposite of a leader, and have worked and worked and worked to become a leader.
Leadership is all about carving out the things that shouldn't be there. And over time, you learn that the greatest leaders are the greatest servers. If you go to a church, you say,
there you go. Leadership is serving.
I want to be the pastor's helper, right? And if you've ever been to church, it's like, I want to be the pastor's helper. They say, great, because the bathrooms start by cleaning those. They don't want to take the people that want to be at the top. They put them at the bottom. People that strive to be at the bottom, those are the ones that get pushed to the top. Those are the ones that find leadership, are the ones that are the greatest servers.
Have you seen anybody come into our company specifically that didn't have leadership qualities, and then after working and working, you see them push through and become leaders?
There's a guy that came in the company. There's a guy that came in the company with zero leadership skills. I mean, zero. And now I would say he's a great leader. It's Issac Turpin. He's right here. Actually, no, it took a lot of work. I mean, time and effort was spent into it, just carving him out, making him be a leader. No, I would say we are constantly taking the guys and people and team members that come into our company and finding out their strengths, diving into that, but not letting their weaknesses get too far as well. So making them a well-balanced, stronger leader. And really, you know what leadership boils down to? Somebody believing in you. Hey, you know what? You speak very well, or you talk very well. It automatically gives you that encouragement that maybe I could do this and be a leader.
Typically in our company, what I've seen is people come in extremely humble and want to be part of the team and elevate the people around them. I've seen it naturally happen like this. They come in, they're extremely humble. They don't want to tell anybody. They even say it. I don't want to tell anybody what to do. You know what I'm saying? But then through their servanthood, through their work ethic, and making somebody else better around them, you just see the shift. And it's like, it's not something you can just write down the answer to. You just see that shift happening where that person just becomes the leader of the group. And we've seen it happen in friendships,
naturally, right?
But in business, I could tell you story after story, the guys that come in or girls come in that the humblest usually. And that's why I would equate leadership to some type of servant.
Let's give examples of humbling situations. Have you ever been fired from a job?
100%. And it was with fashion, and you know it.
Tell me a little bit about your termination.
So I did something. I'm not going to get into the story, all the details, because you won't like me after this. But so I did something at work I shouldn't have done that through my 21-year-old eyes didn't merit being fired for. It was a big mistake. I shouldn't have done it. But now that I'm a business owner, I would 100% fire myself twice. But you remember this. I worked at the mall. I did something I shouldn't have done with a customer, kind of got in an argument. And the next day we're sitting at a meeting at a table, and he's literally going over numbers. How'd you do today, John? How was your numbers yesterday? Isaac, you can go ahead and get up. You're done. And anyway, so what are we doing next week? I mean, and it was like clockwork. And I was, oh man, to me, I used to think that was like a good leader. The guy that was like ruthless, I mean, come on, let's be honest. The guys that we like are the mob movies, right? Like we like to watch Denzel Washington when, he's a gangster or whatever, Yeah. But he was, we equated that to being a boss. Like in business is like, I'm going to tell somebody the way it is. I'm going to fire them or tell them how. And I don't know. I thought that was a good leader. And now I realize that's not a good leader. That's a terrible leader. A leader to me is somebody that has more of a servant attitude, and could have coached me on that cares if I'm going to embarrass you in front of the whole group. Like, am I going to embarrass you on purpose to make you an example? Is that the standard that we're going to hold here? And I'm not saying either way's necessarily right or wrong. I just know that we've changed our style from that in the beginning years of being the young bosses that we were, arrogant and all that. I've seen better success with our teams and with our company the more humble we are and the more we want our team to grow and to be successful. It
comes back to leaders are great servants. They don't have no pride. The greatest leaders are the greatest servers again. I would say the biggest way we evolved as leaders is the hard times, overcoming, dealing with, treating guys wrong and guys feeling disrespected. We learned that we can do things and to get the same results in a whole lot more seasoned way that doesn't affect the team.
Yeah.
Like he talked about getting fired, it stood out to him because of the fashion it was performed, with no respect. So we learned that we can get the same results across. Like he mentioned, he knows he should be terminated, but there's a way you could have done it that would have gained more respect from that individual versus the disrespect that they felt.
I think I got fired from McDonald's too I climbed out the driver. You remember the drive-through windows? Actually climbed out that playing around with my friends. I got fired for that too. I got fired for telling somebody this is not Burger King. You can't have it your way. And if you want it, you should go to Burger King. I got fired for that. What else did I get fired? Oh, Subway.
That's a fire machine right there.
Subway and Mulberry right there by the Winn-Dixie. I got, what an idiot. God, I used to lock the door at about 8 o'clock and we didn't close till 9. And so we'd lock the door and tell people they'd come up and like open the door and they're like, looking at your clock and we're like, no bread. We're out of bread. Sorry. And back then there wasn't like, not everybody
say salami because they'd be like, I don't want salami.
Not everybody had a cell phone back then. So you had to call the line. So people would call to complain, right? It rang at the store. It'd be me. I'd be like, yes. Y'all are closed? Yeah, man. It's the bread. We ain't got no bread. I'm sorry. Click. Crazy.
Oh, man. Terrible employee. Now you think about it. If you're running a company and you got employees like,
oh my God, fire them. Fire anybody named Issac Turpin right away. An example of a good leader, Mark brings him up all the time because he came to our office and spoke, is Grady Judd.
Yeah.
His leadership, when he came to our office, it was cool. We let him talk to our guys. And the biggest thing that stood out between me and you is he talked about how he didn't start as the sheriff. He started out as the traffic controller. What do you call it?
He said boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
He said 30 years ago, I was out there directing traffic, and I didn't expect to be the chief. I knew I had to work my way up, and it was some of the hardest days of his life. So he has a different level of respect for the guys doing it now. But he also lets them know that that's the way to get to where he's at. Boots on the ground, putting in the work, helping the community.
And I like that. In business, that works good because when you've worked each position and they've watched you grow and become into that, there's a respect for leadership. And to be a good leader, sometimes you got to take risks. Nobody wants to work for anybody that's too risky. So you have to work your way up and work hard and have that good work ethic. That way, when you do take risk as a leader, they still have your back. And they're like, we know that because not every risk works out.
They become calculated risk. And if you ask yourself, is it a risk if it's calculated? We put the time and energy behind the decisions we make. That's what makes you great leaders.
And I think we respect Grady Judd for that, because he called it boots on the ground. Was, hey, I did every single job before I became a sheriff, and so now I understand that. And you say he's a leader, right?
I've started from the bottom. Now I'm here, and
that's a risk taker.
He's up there. Him and Drake, they're about right here. The fact that he put 30 years into working, boots on the ground. The fact that he shows up to these events and these charity events.
I agree.
Nonstop. He's the face. He's the one standing in front of the microphone. We know how much pressure it is standing in front of this microphone. So the fact that he has to deal with that daily, it always has to be him. We respect a guy that can endure that kind of pressure.
And I didn't, sometimes we meet some people that have been on TV and stuff like that, some celebrities. He was so cool. Like he literally walked in our office and sat in the couch and we just talked for like 10 minutes.
He opened up a water, chilled with us, hung out, talked about his feelings. We asked him a few times, like, is there anything in here that, you don't want to talk about or you do? And he said, I'm a man of my word. What I say, I do. And
that was cool.
Who I am is what I say. I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to, push past. And we were very impressed.
He asked us what you want your guys to hear, and he took it and he did it. But the coolest thing he did is we had an idea. We were like, what if we can just get Grady like to get on camera and be like, True Builders is awesome. I use True Builders, or True Plumbers is awesome, or whatever. But
ultimately we told Grady that how awesome are we? He agreed.
I don't know about that.
He didn't know it.
But tell him what. Tell
he
him.
did say True Builders is awesome.
No, but tell him what the idea is.
I'm going to arrest him.
That was the idea.
For murder in the competition.
we had a joke where like he's a sheriff. We were going to tell him there's a new sheriff in town. True Plumbers. You know what I'm saying? Have him say that. Like Ricky. Remember how Ricky Bobby did the True Big Red? You know what I'm saying, or whatever. So I wanted Grady to do like 5 of those. Like do 5 little quotes and we can use them. There's a new sheriff in town. It's True Builders. And then we got beside him, and the best one he did was I'm about to arrest these 2 for murder in the competition.
And
or
the chain goes. Boom, closes in front of us like the gates.
So us being, the marketers that we like to be, we turned it into a commercial and we put it on TV, and it was amazing. We started getting calls. We started getting tons of calls. Grady was on y'all's commercial. Then we get a call.
Lo and behold, the attorney calls us and said that Grady's not allowed to be on those commercials. And we said, Grady approved it though. Grady approved. She said Grady works for the sheriff department. He don't own it.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the funniest thing.
No.
She said he's a public figure. So, but remember we tried to work a deal to keep it up, and she's like, yeah.
She was super nice. But she's like,
She even said it was good though.
Yeah.
She was like, "Hey, I respect that." So we took that down and then put his face up on a billboard and ultimately got sued for that.
no,
I'm just kidding. We did.
Grady's a great leader. And I think, but even his name focus with ours was a big upkeep for us. It showed people that we were doing things in the community. Even to be associated with a guy like Grady really puts us on the map.
So if somebody was asking you, Mark, how can they be a good leader at their company that they're at? They're an employee. They work at it. They work a job. How can they be a good leader at that company?
I would say take the Grady Judd approach. I would say
Which
go right
is?
back to servanthood. Go right back to what you consider to be the bottom end of that and jump all over it. Task it like this. Hey, you want me to be the janitor here? And I'm one of the superiors? I'm going to clean the hell out of these toilets then. They're going to look amazing. And I'm going to do it with a smile because everything I take on with excellence, even if it isn't what I decided to be. And I think that essentially will get you up noticed a lot quicker and it'll make you feel more fulfilled.
So you're hitting on like, no matter what you're doing, do it to
excellence.
So is that a quality of a leader?
That's
you would say?
Yeah, that's a true quality. One of ours, one of what we pride in as well.
Who's a leader that you look up to, that you see that come out of? Like,
one great example for me is Tom Brady. If you're watching football at all or know anything about it, he's probably one of the greatest leaders amongst men. To leave an organization where you're a champion, go to an organization where they're failures at the Bucks. No, they're really not good. They were really, really bad.
Yeah.
Horribly bad. Tom comes in.
He's got season tickets, by the way.
Tom comes in.
Know that he's got season tickets.
Now that Tom Brady's there and he comes
jumping on that wagon
into their atmosphere, everything changed. Everybody around it. Now, a lot of the same talent was still there, but he made everybody play at such a high level.
How though?
He came in with his whole rap sheet. They expected something from him, which was prideful, arrogance, and I'm going to do all this. He came in, asked for less money than he could have, instantly showing the team he was about them.
Okay, so you're touching on a good point. So it's about the bigger.
Well, he knows he could have got $5 more million, but at the same time, he would have lost the offensive guard.
But how does he say he's being a leader by doing that? He's
leadership shows sacrifice. Yeah,
Damn,
so
that's what I was trying to get.
His sacrifice is I'm willing to take less, so the team sees I'm willing to put the work in.
That's one good leader quality right there. It's about everybody else,
the team,
and less about me.
Well, you show Tom when he first got to there, he was practicing with the COVID. If you notice that, I think Tom got fined for trying out during COVID. I mean, he was working out with his players and teammates during COVID. That screams one thing to me: work ethic. He is screaming to the entire football league that I'm finding my receivers and I'm dragging them out, even if there's a pandemic, because my work ethic is like this. It never stops.
And then what you see is now you see an incredible sense of loyalty from everybody else on that team, including the coaches. So did everybody sign back on this year to play with the Bucks?
He actually done something historically. They re-signed the entire Super Bowl champion team back to the same organization.
Every single player.
All affordable. Now what they did, if you watch, they all end up taking the Tom Brady deals is what I call it.
Yes.
Meaning I'm part of a team. I know what we can build together. So we're all going to take the Tom Brady deal. We're all going to put in more work than we're paid for, proven to the organization, which Tom did, that I'm a lot more valuable than you're paying me.
How does that work in our business today? How do you see that same thing playing out in True?
Well, bring yourself like this. If Tom Brady was to come to True, which is available, by the way, after NFL.
He did come first for a little bit on the billboard. We had to take that down too.
He showed up for a minute.
I'm trying to promote you, bro.
It was great. So we hope he comes back. But how he would make a biggest impact is if he come in as expected to be the leader. There's no question that even we would think he'd be the leader. If he came in and took the humblest portion of the position and gave it his all, I think instantly he would gain everybody's respect. He comes right in and says, how do I clean these toilets? Because I'm going to take this over right now. You would just right there back up and say, if he's willing to clean toilets, there's nothing I'm not willing to do.
Yeah. And I think that's what we do for family. And so some of those principles that you brought in is why everybody that works for us now will say it's a family atmosphere. And I think we use that term, and I'll give you some points of what makes a family is, number one, you will sacrifice for your family. At the end of the day, if you're family, you have to be there for me. You know what I mean? You don't have a choice. If I call you at midnight, you better come get me because you're my brother.
No matter what.
You know what I'm saying? And so we have that relationship as well. We have put that into our company to where when you come into True, the first thing everybody says is, man, everybody treated me with respect here. Mm-hmm. And it was like a family where I feel like I'm appreciated. And so I would take the same bucks, like, hey, we take less money because we want you. You're a good receiver. We want you. So we do the same over here. Like we make sacrifices in our business because we want these key players to come in. And when you got a little mini group of Tom Brady's in your company, it will grow and expand beyond measure. So you better be ready because that's what we're experiencing right now is the growth.
Who wants to do it alone? It's better as a team. It's better. It's more rewarding. It's more satisfactory. You play golf, you can hit it. You can play alone. You don't actually need anybody to play. It's not as rewarding.
Well,
you hit a great shot. Nobody sees it. Nobody witnesses it. You look around, it's just you and Jesus, and that's not as rewarding as it is.
I wouldn't say you don't need somebody. You would never find your ball if somebody wasn't there watching that garbage shot go into the woods.
That's my point. Is if I'm making a good one, I need some eyewitnesses.
No, you've actually gotten pretty good.
What's more rewarding as a team? I noticed that if I go out with somebody, and it's the same thing. If I'm going out in a scramble, golf has a thing called a scramble. 4 people play 1 ball.
Yeah.
Every shot's the best ball out of the 4 guys. 4 guys
much
tee off,
easier to be good,
and the best shot plays every time.
Yeah.
And then you realize they're not playing any of my balls ever
Yeah.
the entire tournament. So you get a little disappointed.
I don't usually feel that way,
and
but
realize you're not part of the team. So then you see if they're going to play a couple of my balls throughout the tournament, I become more of a team player.
yeah,
So if I'm not doing my diligence and I'm not showing up, what's that? Is it another word? Is it like reliable?
good.
You got to show up with the skills.
That's one of our core values.
That's right.
Yeah. But when you do play on a team and you have some really good players, you don't realize how terrible you actually are.
That's my point.
And then you go
Exactly.
play around by yourself.
My
You're
point
like,
exactly.
wow, there's some good teammates there. But that's what wins Super Bowls is a team. It isn't one player, you know.
Can you imagine Tom Brady being the running back?
No.
But if he if he came to you as a coach and he said, I want to play on the defensive line,
Yeah.
how would you calm a guy like Tom down? Knowing that he's the greatest, he would come to you and say, I'm the greatest. So how do you tell the greatest that he can't play the defensive middle linebacker?
I'll tell you how. There's an amazing scene. Adam Sandler actually does it for me. I think it's is it Sunday or it's one of those movies. Anyways, the offensive lineman said, I'm about tired of you play quarterback all the time, getting all the glory. He goes, why can't I play quarterback? He goes, throw me the ball. He goes 2 foot over his head. He's like, that's why. There. Story's done.
I know what movie that is. Longest Yard.
Longest yard.
Yeah,
Dang
so
it.
he's like, I want to play quarterback.
Samsonite.
Throw me the ball.
I was way
That's right.
off.
Skills do the talking. We say there's a couple of requirements coming in. It's skills, right? And then it's knowledge, and then it's work ethic, and then it's attitude. The more of those you possess, the more likely you are to progress.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tom Brady's an inspirational leader. We talked about Grady Judd is an inspirational leader.
Who's somebody now, like, let's bring it back down to on a smaller scale. Who's somebody that's extremely close to you besides me? That's a great leader. Give me a good example.
Great leader, close to us.
I got a good one.
So I'm gonna go in the company actually,
Okay.
because I'm inspired by our guys.
Yep.
They inspire me every day. Our team, things that we build. It's mind blowing seeing them live out the vision that we create.
Yep.
So Dean Roberts, he's been
Love
with us.
Dean.
He's one of our longest 10 years. He's 13 years with us. And to see that with all his medical things and health concerns, he still shows up. His work ethic,
bro. He just saved a job for us the other
unbelievable.
day.
And what's beyond his work ethic is his attitude. If you know what he's up
That's what I was
against,
gonna ask
you
you.
wonder how a guy like that keeps a good attitude.
So what's his key? What do you say? Like, give me 3 words that sum up Dean's leadership.
I say Dean's leadership is summed up mostly by he's all about relationship.
Ding.
Dean cares about relationship with people. So when you meet a guy like Dean, you know he genuinely cares about me. So I would say relationship is one of his biggest leadership qualities.
Like that.
I would say work ethic.
Yeah.
People are all impressed by the fact that we talked about it earlier about being reliable, meaning showing up with the skills for the job.
Yeah.
He's got all the skills, and he shows up available. And then last to me, which is most important, is he's a leader by example.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of men
How?
these days, they want to tell you what to do. They're afraid to live it themselves. Dean comes out of the hospital bed, comes back in there, pull in the IV unit, and says, "Let me tell you something. You hang a piece of drywall like this." And I can't be more impressed
He's not
with a
scared
guy
to do that.
that ultimately wants to lead by example. He even had to transition his role to coming into the office, which he's a 30-year guy in the field. He transitioned it to the office, never made it a struggle. He tackled every a
And
task.
still not too good to.
And he never felt too good for anything. And most
all.
importantly about Dean always treated the company like it was his own.
Yeah.
So it's easy to value a guy like that for me.
So, well, good. I'm glad you talked about Dean because the guy that I would call that's closest in my life that's a fantastic leader, I'm gonna give him a shout out because I was a jerk teenager, is my dad.
Okay.
And so though it's kind of funny because Dean and my dad have a lot of the same qualities as far as that generation, that older generation, just you don't throw everything away, you fix it.
How old is your dad now?
Is he 68? Is he?
Let's
My
find out
dad's
how old he
68
is.
years old.
Hello,
You and Dad,
Isaac. What's up?
what you doing?
I just got to the church. I went and loaded some chairs for Mr. Emmanuel. You know, he's starting a Haitian church down in Punta Gorda.
Yes,
This
sir.
guy called me and says, "Hey, I've got 40 chairs." I said, "Well, I don't need them, but I think I know somebody that needs them." So I just went and loaded them up for Mr. Emmanuel. They're
Love
sitting
it.
out there on the
Walking
trailer.
Jesus.
So I think Kieran's pastor Brent gave him 30, so now he's got 70. So he's got a good start.
Dad, how old are you?
68.
I knew it. I was right.
I just turned 68.
Way off.
Yeah, you just turned 68?
Yeah.
Why do you look
April.
68 and mom looks 35?
Shut
Dad, give me one quote on
I'll tell
leadership.
you one reason for that.
Okay.
I live with her.
Oh.
That's why I look 68.
He said I live with her.
And
That's what.
off the record, by the way.
Dad, one quote
He said
on
off the
leadership
record,
real
by the way.
quick. One quote.
Oh, one quote on leadership. One of my pastor always used to say, this is more of a church thing, but he always used to say, less than your best is sin. And you can maybe reword that. That's off the top of my head. That's the only thing I can think of right now.
I love it. That's all I
Does
needed.
that work?
That works
Less than
great.
your best is sin. And
Less
so,
than your best is sin.
Pastor Strader always said that from the very beginning when I started going to that church back when I was only 19 when I went there. Less than your best is sin. I must have heard it 1,000 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a lot of other stuff, but I can't.
And still you had more kids after me. That's crazy. Less than the best is a sin. Love you, Dad.
Love you too, man.
See ya. Anyways, yes, my dad.
Okay.
And you know my dad for a long time, and our dads are actually very similar. And we try to, especially in the later years of our lives, are trying to strive to be more like those guys. But they set the bar so high in the beginning, it's like I ain't even gonna try for that.
When you're pastor's sons, you're now in a position where you have to live up to the trust that they built over their entire lifespan. I think we talk about our business being successful solely based on our dads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We feel like we're living the luxury that our dads put the work in. They put the foundation of trust, integrity, reliability, excellence into our community. We come now and reap the harvest of that, what our dads built.
Oh yeah. Just hearing him talk right there that he's loading up and doing things just shows you we can call our dads at any time, any day. It don't matter what day of the week it is, and they are doing something to help somebody else, or they're praying, or something. They're adding value to this earth. And so I think they set the bar high enough for us to run after that I'm not really scared about the future for me or you at all, just because of our dads.
If you could tell your dad something to the microphone now.
If I could tell my dad
for
something?
Father's Day, you talk about him being one of your greatest role models and
Oh, of
inspirational
course.
leaders. He's loading up chairs for Haiti churches. We knows all that. People know all that. But there's something only you know about your dad that you could probably tell him for Father's Day.
A lot of people don't know, and he'll tell his testimony as he goes. If you ever hear him preach, a big thing of his was how he was a druggie and going in and out of the prison, the jail system, and then changed his life, which is cool, and I love that story. But what some people don't know is how he struggled in the beginning as a father, how he struggled in the beginning as a husband, and as a new pastor to try to break, some of the things that aren't as visibly noticeable, because we always talk about drug addicts or alcoholics, but we don't talk about the people who have anger issues and don't tell the truth, and all these other things that aren't as up on the spotlight. So some of the struggles that he had, and I watched him get to firsthand overcome them, and my life has given me hope that no matter what we have done or who we have hurt, we can always come out of that and consistently live right to where you can be the leader that everybody goes to and that loves and respects no matter what you did in your past.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
So happy Father's Day, Dan Turpin. Anyways, shout out real quick to our podcast listeners.
Dad.
Robin Lever.
I'm getting discharged. I'm waiting to find Mom to come get me.
So let me ask you a question. Can you give me one tip on leadership real quick? What's the one thing that comes to your mind when I say leadership?
Communication.
Ooh. So let me ask you a question. What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now?
Sitting outside of the hospital waiting to get picked up
Hospital for what?
for a positive coronavirus
Yeah, the corona.
test.
Hey.
Now I'm strong. I'm ready to come out.
So let me ask you a question. One more. You're able to be a leader with coronavirus in the hospital.
Still answer the phone first.
Still
son.
answer the phone, first ring, and yell out. Communication is the way for leadership. So right now I got you with a couple of people. So can you close me out in prayer? We're closing out with Father's Day and leadership as our taglines. And I'd like you to close us out in prayer if you could.
Okay. Father God, I thank you, Lord, that you are still the God that heals our bodies. You care for us. You love us enough, God, even in any situation, Lord, whether we're a leader or not a leader, doesn't matter, God, because you see us as your children. You see us as your children that you love, and you want more for us. So, Lord, I thank you that you'll prosper us through every bit of this, and you'll strengthen us in our callings, in our talents, in our gifts. You'll give us more than we can imagine. And I ask you in your precious name. Amen.
Hey, man.
I love you, Dad.
Happy Father's Day,
I love you
Robin.
too.
Bye.
Yeah.
So no matter the time or the day, both of our dads answered. You can ask them to pray. You can ask them to give you a quote, whatever you want right then. You could ask them for anything, and they did it. And so that's, yeah. So we got some good leaders in our life. Find the leaders in your life and get close to them and learn from them. Don't reject them.
Imagine working under that bar. You understand? So it's what keeps us to the grind. It's what makes us think that we've only tipped the iceberg on what it is to be a good father and what it is to be a good leader.
100%.
Because both of our fathers showed that they're servants to people, no matter their position, no matter their situation, and they're always available for the ones they love. And that's something that I feel like has simmered with us for years, and we're really thankful for them.
Thank you for tuning in to True Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We got a call out for you. Our dad stepped up. Is Grady Judd going to step up and come sit down here and answer some hard questions about being a police officer in 2021? And who else do we want to call out?
Donald Trump.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Tom Brady.
I mean, might as well shoot for the stars.
Tim Tebow.
Tom Brady, come sit down with us.
Yeah, we have a lot to teach.
We got 200 followers, bro. You want this exposure.
This is big time for you. It really is. And we'll buy your jersey.
I'll take Tim Tebow, too.
I'll buy his jersey if he comes.
Would you?
Yeah.
I'll probably buy his jersey anyways.
Yeah, me too.
See y'all next time.